Hello, my name is Jake Szulinski, and this is Investing Sense. I am a certified financial planner here in Wayne, Pennsylvania. And what we do here on Investing Sense is help educate and bring some information to our local community. And today I have with me a local realtor, Courtney Ashby.
Hi,
Courtney,
Jake.
thank you for being with us today. I appreciate you taking your time.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you're a realtor, the real estate market, I mean,
Yeah.
it's been a crazy year for everybody, but I'm sure in the real estate market it's been just as crazy.
Yes.
And on top of that, the real estate market, of course, is very strong right now. A very hot market. might we
Very
say.
hot. Yeah.
So we obviously have a lot to talk about today. So again, I appreciate you being here and taking your time.
Thank you.
Let me start off by asking about you. So how did you get started in real estate? What brought you to become a realtor?
So I've been in the industry about 10 years now. I started leasing apartments in Center City and kind of shifted into a property management role and a tenant relations role where I really took care of our tenants.
Sure.
And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And it was time to shift into finding people their forever homes instead of still renting.
Gotcha.
So it's been a long haul.
Yeah.
And I've experienced a lot of different aspects of it, but I do love it.
That's great. Yeah, well, I'm sure those different aspects have kind of led you to be able to navigate these crazy waters that we're in right now.
Yes.
So, and which company do you work for as a realtor now?
So I'm with Berkshire Hathaway,
Okay.
And I love it.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Berkshire Hathaway, obviously a very, very big company.
Yeah.
Well known in this area. I mean, is there a certain reason you went with Berkshire Hathaway, or what is the reason that they are one of the dominant forces in the real estate market here?
So everything with Berkshire is really in-house. We have in-house mortgage, in-house insurance, all of it. It makes it kind of a one-stop shop for our clients. And it just felt like the right place. You have to find the place that you're comfortable with and the people that you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
And then from there, the rest kind of falls into place.
That's great. So you said you started in Center City and leasing, property management, things like that. So
Yeah.
you are local.
I am. I
Okay.
am born and raised in Wallingford.
Okay.
Still live there.
Yeah.
And I love it.
So you know the market well in this area. So you're not a transplant coming from
Yes.
somewhere else. So you know the ins and outs
No.
of all the different areas of our
do.
wonderful communities here.
Yep. Lived in Wallingford, went to school in Westchester. So pretty much all of Delco and
Yeah.
Chester, Bucks County is
That's good.
easy for me to navigate.
I think you need that, because a lot
Absolutely.
of people, and you probably can correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of people have an open mind sometimes of, hey, I don't necessarily care if it's Montgomery County, Chester County, Delaware County. And in this area, they all kind of come to a couple of points in certain areas.
Yeah.
So you could throw a baseball and you're in one county versus another county. So
Yeah,
having that knowledge probably helps big time.
It definitely helps, especially when you have clients who say, oh, I work here, my wife works here, or vice versa, and we both want X amount of a commute. It's helpful for me that I know the area, that I can kind of narrow down what towns and what areas we should start looking in, and then you can kind of venture out from there.
Right. So let's move into a little bit about this market that we're talking about, this wonderful housing market. So has the market been like over this pandemic, past COVID, over the past year? What have you seen, I guess, that you would consider anomalies outside of a regular market?
So the market we're in is crazy.
Yes. Yes.
Houses currently are going sometimes within a day. Sometimes they don't even hit the market and they're already gone. We don't have enough inventory right now. So things have kind of gotten to the point where, we used to have maybe 1 or 2 bids on a house, and now we're at like 20 plus.
Wow.
And we'll list a house on a Thursday, Friday, have showings over the weekend, and then all offers are due, usually Sunday or Monday.
Okay.
And at that point, the house is sold, and it's usually well over asking at this point in the game.
So we're going to consider right now the quote unquote a seller's market.
Yes.
So it's
absolutely.
a lot in the seller's hands of being able to kind of dictate the way they want it to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Houses are going for a premium right now, especially in the suburbs.
Right.
When COVID hit, everybody realized they don't have enough space for 2 home offices and, a backyard to go throw the kids into to
Sure.
burn off some energy. and things like that. So the suburb market really hit a huge peak. And the fact that we don't have the inventory for the demand is kind of where we're sitting right now.
Right. So let's kind of start at the beginning. So let's say that I am in the market for a house and I want to buy. What should I do? What are kind of my first steps if I sit there and I'm sitting there and I'm with my spouse and we talk and we say, I think now's the time. I think we're ready. I think we're ready to go buy a house and sell our house, buy another house. What do I do? What's kind of the first step?
So the first steps would be to start interviewing realtors.
Okay.
Call around to your friends, family, ask them for referrals of somebody that they've used that they really liked the experience with.
Sure.
Try to find people that match your similar personalities, and then sit down with, a handful of realtors and say, this is what we're looking for, and just open up the conversation.
Sure.
You want your realtor to have your back 10 times out of 10.
Sure.
And you want to be able to mesh with that person and have them understand what it is that you're looking for.
Absolutely.
And that's the first step.
Okay.
Once you choose your realtor, then you want to go get pre-approved.
Okay.
And your realtor can help you with that.
So let's dive into that a little bit. So a pre-approval for people who don't know it. What does a pre-approval include, and what benefit does it give you when you are going to start looking at houses?
So a pre-approval is from a mortgage professional. They will go through your finances, really, and say to you, you can afford X.
Right.
And then from there, you can kind of back into what homes are available and what makes sense for your family financially.
Gotcha.
Your realtor will be able to put you in touch with somebody that they trust. And then from there, you can start looking at houses.
Okay.
You cannot make an offer on a house without a pre-approval.
Okay.
So unless you're just kind of like in the market to be a looky-loo or just kind of trying to get your feet wet, you really shouldn't be looking at a house without a pre-approval.
Okay. So the pre-approval is the key. I'm assuming the seller at that point is one of the first questions they're going to ask is, are they pre-approved? Are they actually ready, and are they serious? And that pre-approval is the first step into doing that.
Yeah.
So on the flip side, if I am not looking to buy another house, if I'm just looking to sell my house, in that case, I still obviously want to interview realtors. But if I'm just saying maybe I'm going to go rent, or maybe I'm going to do something else, what are my first steps when I'm selling a home after finding a realtor?
So finding a realtor, finding somebody that you're comfortable with, and then having a discussion with them as to what they recommend.
Okay.
Do we need to declutter your home a bit? Do we need to paint?
Gotcha.
Are there things to freshen up?
So you or a good realtor should be doing a walkthrough at some point then and say, okay, let's figure out how we get it market ready or sell ready?
Yep.
Is that okay?
Absolutely. And then from there, what a good realtor will do, we'll sit down with, we call them different comps, and show you what has sold in your area that matches what your house is.
Right.
So comparing a 4-bedroom to a 4-bedroom as compared to comparing a 4-bedroom to a 1 or 2-bedroom.
Right.
And then from there, you can kind of discuss a price point as to what you want to list the house at.
Right. So so we'll dig into that a little bit. So the pre-approval, if I'm going to buy, will give me kind of my range of what I'm eligible to purchase based on my finances. And then, of course, we can buy anything under that if we want as well. But
always good.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't want to go over that number. So that at least gives me a range there. But when I'm selling, you said you look at these comps to figure out a price point that's on there. Do you usually recommend going a little bit over that price point to leave room for negotiation? Do you go kind of right on a price point? Do you go a little bit low and hope for a bidding war? Is there what strategy goes into that?
So right now, your realtor should come to you with a bit of a range of where we could, quote unquote, list your home.
Okay.
And part of that range is if you do certain things. So, if you paint all of the walls neutral colors, or if you replace carpet that's old and stained, or whatever it may be, that puts you another price up.
Right.
Right now, there isn't necessarily a bidding war because you're pretty much taking best and final at first offers.
Okay.
So there isn't the traditional, oh, these are our top 2 offers and we're going to go back and try to get the best out of them.
Right.
Everybody's coming with their best.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right now.
And on top of that, a lot of, I'm assuming, is driving this market as well as the interest rate market. So we talked about the supply and demand, which is one part of it. But now that these interest rates are at historic lows,
amazing.
And I know that's not necessarily exactly where you fall into it. That's more the mortgage professional, but that has to be adding to the stress of the supply and demand issue.
It has added to the stress, but it's also really helped people.
Yeah, okay.
So what somebody could afford a year and a half ago to 2 years ago is not what they can afford now. They can afford more than they could. So I have different clients who maybe were looking at, we'll call it a starter home or the in-between home. They were able to bump themselves into the forever home because the interest rates are low, their mortgage numbers worked out.
Right. So I want to dig into a couple things there on the financial part of it.
Yeah, please.
The first being down payments.
Yeah.
So again, we talk about it, we can get the pre-approval, but what do you see when it comes to down payments? Because I know there's different options that come with that. So when you are looking to buy, are there better ways to do it? Does that give you an edge if you have certain down payments versus not? Lower down payments versus higher down payments?
Yeah. So everybody is very fearful that, I have to have 20% to put down. I have to, which is not the case.
Okay.
In some instances, you can put as low as 3% down to buy a home. To buy a home. It's all relative to your financials and what you're comfortable with and what makes the most sense for you as a family. So we always recommend, obviously, talking to your mortgage professional. If you have a financial advisor, inviting them into the conversation.
Sure.
And figuring out where you are comfortable. We don't ever want to put somebody into a home where, yes, they can afford it, but then they have no cash left because they've put everything down as a down payment. Nobody wants to be house poor.
Absolutely.
So it's all relative.
Okay.
Obviously, once you've kind of bumped up in price range and you're looking closer to the $750,000 to $1 million, your down payment tends to be a little more than the 3%, just because the overall number is so high that people want somebody who's very serious and has the backing to do so.
Right. And I think you kind of answered this as part of that question, but my second financial part was PMI. We get a lot of questions about private mortgage insurance and having to do that. And correct me if I'm wrong, that is based on what your down payment is.
Yes.
And your equity that you have in your home.
Yeah, so if you put over 20% down, you lose PMI.
Okay.
Which is great, but PMI will also always be in the specs of what you're paying month to month if you've decided this is what we're going to put down.
Right.
And if it's under 20%, your mortgage professional will say to you, it'll be a line item saying this is part of your payment.
But like you said, in that case, again, if it works out for me or who's ever looking, if I don't have necessarily the 20% or I don't want to strap myself too short financially, it might be better to pay a little bit more on the monthly to have that PMI versus putting down a huge lump sum.
Exactly. And when you're looking at a home, you'll be able to tell month to month what your numbers are, which your realtor will help you with. So you're not looking at something that it's kind of like a pie in the sky, like, oh, I don't know what $500,000 means in a home month to month.
Right.
It's about the monthly numbers because that's how we live.
Sure. So we get the pre-approval, which obviously tells the number, of what we're qualified for, and as long as we're under that, we're pretty much in good shape.
Yep.
How much do I have to disclose beyond that? So when we get into this process, does I'm buying we'll go back to my scenario. Me and my spouse sit down, we say we're ready, we find a great realtor, maybe Courtney is our realtor. We go out, we get the pre-approval, we're ready, we're looking at houses.
Yeah.
Let's say we decide on a house and say, okay, let's put in an offer. How much do I have to disclose of my financials to the seller, or to how much gets, is portrayed during that transaction?
Yeah, so there's a form that we have to fill out, Buyer's Financial Information, BFI, and it basically states how much you guys are making annually and what there is in savings.
Okay.
Now, you don't always have to disclose all of your savings or all of your 401k as long as your numbers are financially sound.
Okay.
But it's similar to applying for a credit card or applying for anything else. You have to give the gist of the numbers that you make enough
to
support.
Prove. Yeah, you got to prove that you can actually
Exactly.
handle it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So a lot in this market that I've seen is downsizing as well. We have, if we're looking at it, the baby boomers, a huge piece of our population right now, are in that age, and a lot of them are saying, okay, we raised our family in this house, and it's a big house, but all of our kids are now grown and out. Maybe I want to downsize. So are you seeing a lot of that? And what kind of advice do you have for people that are in specifically that situation?
So right now it's a little bit of a mixed bag. Before the pandemic, people were ready to downsize and they were saying, okay, it's fine. And then the pandemic kind of shifted everything, and it was, we don't necessarily feel safe moving. We're not really sure where to go. All of those aspects. Inventory
low.
Inventory is being low.
Okay.
So it all kind of depends. Real estate is really, unfortunately, situation by situation. It depends on your specific client.
Sure.
If they're willing to go into a condo or something else, right now that market is not, the inventory isn't as low.
Okay.
But it all depends. Are they staying, do you want to stay local? Are you snowboarding to Florida? Are you going down to the beach?
Okay.
The beach is its own very, very hot market right now.
Sure.
There's a lot of a lot of like top professionals that are able to work from wherever now because everything's remote.
Yeah.
So they're down at the beach buying beach houses to go enjoy their time with their family.
Right. No, that makes sense. All right, so we'll go to the next step of this. So we talked about in our situation of being prepared to buy, to sell. Again, we get our realtor, we get our pre-approval, we find the house, and let's say we put the offer in on the house. So let's talk about the offer. I'm assuming you help with that, especially from a buyer's side. You're going to the same thing. You figure out that range of how we sell a house, but when we're buying a house, how do you think about that? So again, you look at comps the same way and say this is kind of where we should go in. And
so traditionally, yes,
okay.
We'll look at comps and say, is this house worth X? Comps are only so relative. It depends on what the family purchasing the home feels the home is worth.
Sure.
If it's worth X for them and it's up for Y, then it is what it is.
Right.
But yes, if you're looking to put in an offer, it will be myself writing up said offer and getting all of the additional paperwork that goes with it. So your buyer financial information, your pre-approval, how much you're putting down as your earnest deposit.
Okay. And
your earnest deposit is due usually within 3 days of your offer being accepted.
Okay.
And that is part of your down payment that just shows, hey, we're very, we're very serious, we're very interested.
And what is that? I'm assuming that goes into some type of escrow.
Yep.
Okay.
Goes into escrow, and then when you go to close, it's just a part of all of it.
Okay. So yeah, let's talk about that next step. So we put in the offer. Let's say the offer is accepted. We're good.
Great.
We now, everything's going well. So that situation has to look a little bit different now. Obviously, during the pandemic, e-sign, DocuSign, everybody not necessarily being able to be in one room. How has that changed for you over the last year or so?
So your offer is pretty much all DocuSign.
Okay.
There isn't really much that you're signing. We call it wet signing. There isn't really much that you're wet signing anymore.
Okay.
Everything's dropped to the listing agent via email.
Okay.
And then from there, now if your offer is accepted, we'll obviously drop off an actual check to the listing agent.
Sure.
And then when it comes to closing, recently realtors have started to be able to, depending on the brokerage, be at the closing table.
Okay.
But there was almost a year where we would have to send our clients in and they would have to sign by themselves.
Okay.
Now, we trust our professionals that, they're explaining everything, and usually they're the ones explaining all your paperwork anyway, because it's their job.
Right.
But yeah, we unfortunately haven't been a part of that last final sign process.
So assuming we're headed in the right direction here and everything's going well, who does attend a normal closing, and what am I expected to bring as a client? If I'm coming in and I'm the buyer or the seller, what am I expected to be providing there besides my hand ready for the signatures, and who else is going to be around the table with us?
So the title company will be there
Okay.
and the mortgage lender.
Okay.
And you will need to come with your down payment check.
Okay. That's it.
And,
the money.
And a strong arm to sign a lot of papers.
There you go. Absolutely. And those papers, like you said, are going to include the financials of everything. So is that where I'll get the exact breakdown of what my mortgage payment will be, what my down payment was, taxes, insurance, all that fun stuff? That's all included in all that?
So you'll get a breakdown of it right before you close, just so you have an idea of what you're looking at. And then at the closing table, the mortgage professional will go through it with you line by line of what everything means and where it's all going.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we'll continue on with our scenario here.
Yeah.
Everything's going well. We've got to the closing table. We signed. The down payment checks in.
Yeah.
And we are now either the new homeowners, or we just sold our house, or both. What do we expect after? What do we do? Do we, what do you see most clients doing as soon as they purchase their home? Is it changing out locks? Is it doing a deep clean right away? What is the normal kind of circumstance right after you're done at closing?
So there's no real normal,
Okay.
because every house is different. Some houses are full fixer-uppers, and some people are going in, changing locks and ripping down all the walls and totally gutting a house. Some people are going in and painting walls, changing carpet, just out of, a cleanliness factor. And some people are just bringing a suitcase and moving right in.
Yeah.
It all kind of depends on what you've purchased
Okay.
and what it is you're looking from it. And then we have investor clients who have purchased and are putting the for rent sign on the front door.
Gotcha.
As soon as they have keys in hand.
Yeah, we didn't talk about much on that market. What are you seeing in the rental market? I know we concentrated a lot today on buying and selling.
Yeah.
Can you give me a little bit of information on the rental market and what you see there?
So the rental market in Philly, at least, has kind of steadied back out.
Okay.
People, again, are a little scared to leave, in all honesty. And the rental market in the suburbs is at an all-time high.
Okay.
Because we started the pandemic and there were people selling their homes and then they couldn't find anything.
Yeah.
Or we're going to sell our house and we're going to rent for a year or two and figure out where it is we want to go and what type of space we want and all of that.
So you're seeing kind of the gamut run on renting of not just condos, apartments, but single families, everything.
Everything.
It's all there.
Anything that's up for grabs at this point is being filled.
Right.
Now investing's a little bit different. There isn't as much inventory, and because everything's going for such a high demand, our investor clients are not as hot as they normally are, but there's always a good deal to be had somewhere, some way.
Well, that's great. So obviously there's so many moving parts and pieces that go from step one all the way to closing, and even after closing, like you said, depending on what kind of house you're buying. I think that obviously shows the value of why you need a realtor, why you need somebody standing beside you, because the everyday person probably doesn't know what they don't know.
Right.
You don't know what questions to ask if you really haven't seen it or haven't been through it on a daily basis. So I'm sure you could sit here for another hour and tell us story after story of odd things that have happened and ways that you would never expect transactions to go. But well, I appreciate you being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Again, a lot of great information. Obviously, if people want to contact you, they can reach out to you at Berkshire.
They can reach out to me, Berkshire, through my email, social media, anything. Yeah.
Well, again, a lot of great information. I appreciate you taking the time, and we look forward to seeing you again sometime, and good luck with this crazy market.
Thank you.
I want to thank you all for joining us again today. My name is Jake Szulinski, and this is Investing Sense, and we look forward to seeing you next time.